What's up, corn dogs? It's Trucker here with the third video in the Alliance War series. This is the Phase 3 video. Phase 3 is called Invasion technically, but it's basically the battle phase. This is actually the phase where you actually get to fight. This is the fun phase. There's strategy involved, and we'll cover all of that. But first, want to make sure that you understand exactly how um, the battle phase works. First thing you want to do when you log in, you want to come in here, you want to grab your war coins, and you want to donate them. You want to donate war coins before you do anything, because donating war coins is actually going to increase your power, and it may be the difference between you winning and losing. So you always want to, number one, go get your war coins. Then you want to come in here to the war store and you want to donate them. We want all of the attack buffs to be even. And if all of the attack buffs are even, you want to raise speed first. There are some people, knuckleheads, that do not listen, that think that attack is the best buff to raise, and to raise it first, and that is incorrect. The most powerful buff in the game is speed. If you have 2 tunes and I have a higher speed than you, I am going to hit you twice to your 1. If I hit you twice, I'm going to do more damage than you. So the speed buff is an actual attack buff in and of itself, but in World of Mayhem, when you're fighting battles in World of Mayhem, speed kills. I mean, it's just like real life. Speed is what's going to determine the winner most of the time. If you have a very slow team, you're probably going to get chewed up a lot. Slow teams are horrible defensive teams, which, we'll cover. But the speed buff is the most important buff. It's the most powerful buff. So when we get into the attack phase and you get your coins, we want to donate to these buffs, and we want to raise them evenly. We don't want to raise one 2 or 3 levels higher than the other. This attack buff should not be at 6. It should be at 5, and those coins should have been put into defense to get it to 5. And once everything is at the same level, raise speed first, and then raise the others to meet it. The preparation phase is the phase that you donate all of your coins to your defensive buffs. You cannot donate to the defensive buffs once the battles start. And the battles are always going to start. The first battle is always going to be Saturday morning, last 24 hours. The second battle is going to be Sunday morning, last 24 hours. The third battle is going to be Monday morning, last 24 hours. It will always fall on those 3 days. It'll never fall in any other way, shape, or form during the week. And I think that's due to design or whatever, but the enlistment phase is the phase that has it varies depending on the time, but it's 4 or 5 days usually. And then the preparation phase starts on a Tuesday, and it goes all the way into Saturday morning, and Saturday morning is when the actual battles and fights start. Now, let's take a look at exactly how the Alliance War is set up. The Alliance War is set up so that you can use strategy to sort of win the day. But it comes, in a nutshell, the ship is the most important structure. It gives a lot of buffs to everything. And you can see it, everything that it's giving a buff to is connected by blue arrows. Everything before a node gets a buff from everything that's before it, as long as it's not destroyed. So the cannons get buffs from both the inner towers, the outer tower, and the ship. That's why it has 3 buffs here. You got the ship and both towers. Each tower only covers 4 cannons, so there are 2, which brings into the strategy, which we'll get into later on. But you need to know that you can break buffs and sever buffs from the targets. Well, the cannons are generally going to be your most vulnerable targets. They're generally going to be your lowest power targets. So what we want to do is we want to try and defeat the towers that are protecting the cannons. Now, what's interesting about the way that the Alliance War is set up is if you sever this blue line anywhere, everything below it, it doesn't negate the buffs that it got, but it does reduce it by like 40% down to 60% effectiveness. So if we take out this tower right here, these 4 cannons will only get 60% of the ship buff, 60% of the inner tower buff, and 60% of this buff. If we beat the inner tower, it'll still get the 100%. These cannons will still get the 100% bonus from this buff, but it'll receive only 60% of the buff from these 2. So it's sort of set up to stack on top of each other. If you battle really powerful alliances that can just overpower you, they'll generally start at the ship and then they'll just work their way out and get to the cannons last. But when you're fighting alliances of semi equal strength, you sort of have to pick and choose where you're going to attack and where you're going to fight. And that's why the defense is so important in how we were setting it up. We don't have the players right now to defend everything. We just don't have them. We used to, but we don't now. We have several players that came in over the holidays and have just stopped playing. One of the most important things that I want to stress is this sort of stuff right here. This is a player that did not place a defense on any node anywhere. So what happens is if you don't have enough or if players don't voluntarily place defenses on every single structure, the computer will choose a player that did not place a team up, and it just randomly picks 4 tunes, and you end up with stuff like this. This is a slap in the face to the entire alliance. Everybody that you're fighting side by side, this is a slap in the face to them. You are giving away 10 points every single battle because you couldn't take 5 minutes out of your schedule to put up a team. And this is what we got to get rid of. This is pathetic. You don't even need to use decent teams to beat this. You can take one yellow tune and come in here and beat this whole team without even sweating. And that's one of the biggest problems with Alliance wars. Is it is basically a war of attrition. The alliance that has the most teams is generally going to win the war, and the reason that is because you can only use a tune once per battle, which means that once you use 4, 5, 6, 7 teams, you actually start to get pretty deep into your roster. And you start to get to a point where things are kind of iffy because you're using tunes that you haven't thrown a whole lot of resources into. So it really is a war of attrition. And we can actually win a war of attrition because we have a lot of good players in here. But when you have players like this that won't pay attention, that won't even try, it makes things very difficult for everyone else. Because now this player is just giving away 10 free points, and you don't have to dig very far into your tune collection in order to find something that can beat this. And that's heartbreaking, actually. It kind of sucks. But once you log in, you get your coins, you donate to the buffs. The very next thing you want to do is you want to come into the chat and you want to find the instructions. The instructions are always going to be in all caps, make them easy to find when you scroll up. King Bugs is the war general. He's generally going to give the instructions. There are times when I give the instructions. There may be someone else that is a co-leader or something that may give instructions in the future. But most of the time it's going to be King Bugs. And after discussing a few things, he is going to call out priority targets. These are targets that the bigger players are going to hit and try to destroy to knock a hole in the defense so that the smaller players can have easier targets to hit, because you need points to win, and you get a point by winning a battle. It doesn't matter if it's a 3-star battle, 2-star battle, 1-star battle. As long as you win, you get a point, and there's no penalty for losing. So everybody is encouraged to try. If you see something that you can possibly hit, or if you're close, give it a shot. I mean, there's no consequences for failing. However, not everybody is going to be able to hit these targets. So my suggestion is, if you can't hit these targets, just hold back, be patient, let the bigger players come in, clear these targets out. And what's going to happen is we're going to knock out some of these towers, which are going to lower the power on the cannons behind it, which make them easier targets for you to hit. And the reason this is important is because the more people that are hitting for points, the more points we can score. And that's the name of the game. At the end of the battle, when the timer runs out, whoever has the most points gets a win. And you don't ever want to stop getting points. You always want to farm as many points as you can possibly get, because there are tiebreakers that come into place. And the very first tiebreaker is points. So if there's 2 teams tied with 2 wins, then it goes to the tiebreaker, which is whoever scored the most points over the entire war. So always score points, farm points as much as you can, but pay attention to chat, because people are going to say, hey, this tower's down, these cannons are open. So whenever one tower gets knocked out and it's a priority target, the cannons behind it become open and you can start hitting them. Which, that's the whole point. It's teamwork. We're all working together to try and score as many points as possible. So the bigger players are sacrificing their biggest teams to take down these towers, to open up the cannons behind them for our smaller players to hit. And that's been the recipe for success. We've won a hell of a lot of battles doing just that. We've beaten teams or alliances that we had no business beating, because we were able to knock a hole in their defense, because we have very, very good high-level players, and they weren't able to knock any holes in our defense, and they just picked on our cannons, and we were able to outscore them when we really shouldn't have been able to. The very first battle, it is important to note, is it takes a while to get going, because the buffs start at 0 and we have to wait for the buffs to come in. We generally wait until you want to wait until at least these get to 6, possibly 7, before you start attacking. If you don't have the power to just simply bulldoze something, and you're not very confident in that you're going to win, wait till these buffs get up to at least 6. There's no shame in waiting. The more people that log in, the more coins that get donated, the higher the buffs get, the easier the battles will be for you to win. So if you're not confident in your ability to beat something, by all means wait. There is 8 hours of extra time inside each of the battles, so you have leeway. Whenever the battle starts, you have 8 energy. If you need to start your battle timer, your energy timer, beforehand, take a very small target like this one and hit it 1 time to start your war timer. That way, in 8 hours I think it's 8 hours. In 8 hours, you'll get 4 more energy. And 8 hours after that, you'll get 4 more, for a total of 16. So sometimes you'll be in a position to where you want to start your timer because you don't want the last 4 energy to come in while you're, right before the battle ends or anything. So if you need to start your timer, hit a small target and just hit it one time and start your timer. Energy, like I said, you start with 8, and then once you hit, it'll start your timer, and then there's an 8-hour timer. You'll get 4 more, and then another timer after that. As long as you don't get back up to the maximum of 8, and you stay under the max of 8, you'll have another 4 energy that will come in another 8 hours, for a total of 16 for each battle. I hope that this clears some things up. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. One thing that we do try to do is whenever you hit something, communicate, tell people, what you hit and what teams you used to be successful. This will help people that have time constraints and don't waste energy hitting something that they think will work, whenever they can look in here and see that, well, that target's already been hit and it was hit with these teams. They can just go grab one of those teams and hit it, and it actually becomes very efficient time-wise for your alliance mates. So if you hit something successfully, tell everybody what you used and what you hit. It's just common courtesy. And if you anything in here that isn't clear, let me know in chat. Just ask a question. We'll be more than happy to clear it up for you. It's pretty straightforward. The last video is probably not going to be much of a video. The last video is the celebration phase, which is phase 4, and I'll get to that whenever I get to it, probably here in the next 2 days or so. But make sure that you subscribe. All the subscriptions I can get right now will really help me out a lot. And follow the channel for the next couple of days, because I'm actually going to start doing the team composition videos after I get the war stuff finished. And who knows, maybe it'll be informative, probably not, but it'll be full of sarcasm. Anyways, y'all have a great day. Get out there and battle, score some points, and we'll see you afterwards. Bye.